Lookup functions are often deemed the most useful Excel functions. Let's get to know what they are and learn how to use them. Now, you may have heard the term VLOOKUP before, and in fact, it's often listed as a prerequisite in job descriptions for certain roles. Interestingly, although VLOOKUP is one of Excel's most useful functions, it's also one of the least understood functions. In this tutorial, we will learn all about VLOOKUP using simple language and easy examples to give you a chance to master it relatively quickly. So, what is VLOOKUP and what does it do? As its name suggests, VLOOKUP is a function that helps you find information you are looking for on a worksheet. The important thing to understand is that VLOOKUP works on a column level. You have to specify what value you are looking for, and then Excel will look up this value in the first column of a specified data range and then return a value in the same row from another column in the data range. Let's have a look at the VLOOKUP function syntax. Now, as we can see, VLOOKUP has 4 arguments or inputs. We can think of these as what, where, what, and if. The first argument is the lookup value, which tells Excel what we want to look for. The second argument tells Excel where we want to look. Think of a table array as a table's cell range. So it would be the cell range that covers multiple columns and rows like this. Excel will only search this specified range. Now the third argument asks us to input a column number. This column number tells Excel what we want to know, which is the information we want it to return from our lookup. The fourth argument is an optional argument because it's in square brackets. We can call this an if factor because here we have the option of telling Excel if we want it to find an exact match or an approximate match when looking up the value. Now, although this argument is optional, as you will recognize, it's a very important argument and most often we end up using it. Let's now populate this function using a simple example. This table contains some information on different food items, which restaurant they can be ordered from, pricing, and customer ratings. Now imagine the table was huge and we wanted to find out the price of a particular dish. In this case, the VLOOKUP function would be extremely useful as it would be very tedious and time-consuming to search a large worksheet otherwise. We will use our sample table to go through the steps of a VLOOKUP function to understand how it works. Let's say we want to find out the price of a donut. Donut will be our lookup value because this is what we want Excel to look for. When we write our function, we can either enter this first argument as a value or a cell reference. Now we need to tell Excel where to look. Since we want Excel to search our table, we need to specify the table's cell range as the search area. Next, we have to tell Excel what we want to know, and we have to specify this as a column number. Now, this should be the number of the column in which our result can be found. It's important to understand that the first column in our table is column number 1, regardless of the column letter on our worksheet. So, since we want to find out the price, we would enter the number 3 as the column number because it's the third column in our table. Last but not least, the fourth argument is used to tell Excel whether we want an approximate or an exact match for our value. Now, in most cases, we're looking for a specific or unique value and therefore we need an exact match. In this case, we should enter false or 0. If we're okay with an approximate match, we should enter true or the number 1. Now, since this is an optional argument, we can technically leave it empty, but if we do that, then Excel will by default use true and look for an approximate match. This is not always possible, and we'll see why later on, but just try to make it a habit of entering this field when creating a VLOOKUP function. Now you may have been wondering what the letter V stands for in VLOOKUP. V stands for vertical and refers to the arrangement of data we are searching, which will be organized in columns with column headers at the top. I hope you're following so far. Now that we've been introduced to what a VLOOKUP function is and how it works, up next it's time to see one in action.